name is Paige, and I'm a 37-year-old full-time housewife. Right now, I'm living a very happy life. But 5 years ago, I was completely depressed and defeated. At the time, I was 32 years old. I was living with my husband, Henry, who was a salaryman 5 years older than me. It had been 3 years since we got married, but I wasn't able to get pregnant and thought that it was strange, so I took a fertility test. The result was that there was nothing wrong with me. On the other hand, Henry said he was too lazy to go to the clinic and he refused to get tested. No matter how many times I tried to explain to him that an infertility test has to be taken by both husband and wife, he refused to listen. "It's you, of course there's no way anything wrong with me," and he wouldn't even try to get involved. And that night as well, Henry and I were getting into an argument about having children. Hey, the more that I think about it, the more I really think you should take the infertility test. You were the one that also said you wanted kids. In that case, then both of us should be getting tested.
Damn it, what a pain. But also, there's no way I would be the reason.
How can you say that if there's no way it could be you? What are you even basing that off of?
I don't need to base it off of anything. It obviously has to be your fault. I mean, first of all, you said your period was irregular lately, right?
Well, It's true my period hasn't been coming, but that was only recently. And I think that the stress of Henry and I not getting along recently was the cause of that.
See, look, so if it's your fault, and because you won't get pregnant, I have to keep getting bothered by my parents asking where the grandchildren are. And it's super annoying, alright? Sheesh. Even though it's your body's fault, stop dragging me into it.
Not only was Henry refusing to take an infertility test, he decided that it was my fault that we couldn't get pregnant, and that was already stressful. But if I asked him too much, then we were only getting more and more estranged, and it was a vicious cycle. That's what I thought. So after that, I decided to stop bringing up the infertility test completely. During that time, Henry was amazingly promoted to manager. When I heard the news, I was grateful from the bottom of my heart to Henry. But the next day in the evening, after Henry had become a manager, I got this phone call from him.
Oh, Paige, I'll be inviting some of my staff to our house tonight. So make sure you have some food and drink prepared. Thanks.
What? Tonight? That was all he said, and Henry hung up the phone on me. Even though I called him back and I sent him text messages, Henry ignored them all. The time was already 5:30 in the evening. Usually Henry would come home at around 7 o'clock at night, but does that mean he's telling me to prepare everything within an hour and a half? Luckily, there was a supermarket within a 5-minute walk from our place. I rushed to buy some food and alcohol, and I managed to prepare a dinner in time before Henry brought over a few of his staff members to our house. But what is this? The fried chicken is so soggy. Sir, is this what you're eating every day? I feel so bad for you, lol. Amongst the people that Henry brought to our house, there was this one young woman named Chelsea, and she kept complaining about every single dish that I had made. I wanted to kick this Chelsea out of our house as soon as possible. But they were all people from Henry's workplace, so of course I couldn't do that. I was getting irritated by myself when...
Yeah, that's right. This woman's such a failure as a wife. She's a good-for-nothing that can't even make children. The least you could do is make a decent meal.
What? To my disbelief, Henry was not only bashing me in front of everybody, but he also brought up my fertility. Even the other members of his staff looked shocked. They were all avoiding eye contact with me now. And the room was surrounded by a very awkward atmosphere. Everyone except for Chelsea, who had a different reaction. What was that? Did you say she can't make children and that's your wife? Wow, interesting. What? I was so shocked at her rudeness that I couldn't even get a word out. But then Chelsea spat out some even more outrageous words. Your wife. She's even ugly on the outside. You should just break up with her, sir. Chelsea looked at me right in the eye as she said that, and with an arrogant face, she stuck herself onto Henry. Henry also put his arm around Chelsea with a similarly arrogant look. I can imagine he was quite drunk already, and since he got promoted, his ego had gotten bigger. But I didn't think he was this terrible of a guy. This was infuriating, and it was at that moment.
Sir, and Chelsea too.
There was a man named John who had been helping me all this time with the cooking and also serving the food, and he stood up before me.
Your wife, she prepared all of this for us in such a short time, but if you say such a thing, I think that's terrible. Shut up.
John seemed like he was quiet and a pushover, but he was doing his best to defend me. However, instead he was yelled at by Henry.
Huh? Are you trying to stand up against your manager?
That's hilarious! Do you think you're the knight in shining armor? You're not only ugly and fat, you're so disgusting! We're all just trying to have a good time here. What are you saying to our manager?
No, well, it's exactly as Chelsea says. You disgust me. I'm gonna have a think about firing you. Fire?
But sir, why did you even bring this guy here today?
He's pretty useful for pouring the drinks and carrying the food, isn't he? Well, he just might use his wife by herself. He's not very smart, so it would have taken too long. But if you're going to say that, Chelsea, then you go home. Get out of my face.
John was suddenly told by Henry that he might be getting fired, and to go home. And he stood there in silence for a while.
I understand. Thank you for having me.
He said, and he looked like he was about to cry as he walked out the front door. I feel so bad for him. But also, what is with those two? That was way too horrible. I was so over it, but I didn't say anything, and silently went to the bedroom. I decided to leave those guys having their little party, and hurry up and get out of this house. I gathered my belongings into a suitcase, and just as I was about to walk out the front door when...
If you all go against me too, I'm going to fight you just like I did John. Do you hear me?
I heard Henry's voice, yelling and talking down to his other staff members. That guy, he's the worst! I was happy to be out of the house, but there was no more trains that would get me back to my parents' place. And so, I decided to go to the nearest pub while I looked for a nearby hotel that I could stay at for the night. However, to my shock, when I opened the door, I saw none other than John, sitting at the counter by himself and drinking a beer. I rushed over to him straight away. I'm terribly sorry about my husband earlier, and I apologized to him. The employee said, "Are you guys together?" And he showed me over to the seat next to John. John's bag was sitting there on the chair, but I happened to see a book poking out from the inside that had programming written on the back of it. Henry's job was in sales, so I imagined that John was also working in sales, but... John, are you also doing programming? Actually, my older brother is also doing that kind of work. When I asked him the question, as usual, John was answered a little hesitantly.
Yes. I actually always wanted to do programming, but I couldn't really get a job, so that's why I'm where I am now. Sales is what I'm worst at, but I was just told I would be fired, but I had already been thinking about resigning, even when I was at the company. I just get harassed by Mr. Henry and Miss Chelsea, so...
I thought he was just a pushover, but whenever he was talking about programming, John was really lively through his stutters, and I could tell that he had a lot of goals of his own. And as I was talking to John, it made me realize that I need to get myself together too. If I stay with such a garbage husband like that, then I am truly helpless. Tomorrow, I'm going to serve Henry with divorce papers and I'm going to leave the house. The next day, I went to the city office to get divorce papers. And when I came back home, "Oh, Miss Wife, you came back?" I heard Chelsea's voice as she came over to the front door. Oh, this woman. Don't tell me she stayed here last night.
What's the matter, sweet Chelsea?
And Henry followed after her to the front door. When he saw my face, he grinned and then he said this.
Where the hell are you? When the staff of the master of the house were here for dinner, you left and didn't even do your duties. You You are a failure as a wife. I don't need someone useless like you. We're getting a divorce. Get out. And I'm going to get remarried to Chelsea.
Henry was laughing as he said that, and he pulled Chelsea closer into him while looking at me. Oh, Henry, last night was so fun, wasn't it? Wife, take that, lol. Ugh, these two. I slammed down the divorce papers that I had gotten from the city office onto the floor of the front door, and I stormed out. And then I asked John to meet me for lunch, and after I spoke to him about everything, I went back to my parents' house. I brought John with me. That's because I wanted to get back at that garbage Henry and that empty-headed woman Chelsea. That's why. 5 years later, when that actually happened, I couldn't help but to hold my belly and laugh out loud. Well, as for what happened with those two after that, let me tell you the story now. My divorce from Henry was finalized, and I received a very small settlement fee. 5 years after that, I received a phone call from a public phone booth number. I was wondering who it could be, as I reluctantly picked up the phone.
Hello, Paige? It's me, Henry.
That irritating voice that I never wanted to hear again. After all these years, he's calling me. What on earth does he want? I didn't say a word, and I hung up the phone. But after that, I got a phone call after phone call multiple times from the phone booth number. This is so annoying! I decided to answer, to yell at him once and for all, but then...
Paige, please, don't hang up. Please, listen. I want to start over with you.
That's what Henry said. Huh? When I heard those words, I stopped right in my tracks. As I stayed silent, Henry just started blabbering on his own.
After I got remarried to Chelsea, that woman won't do any chores around the house. She doesn't even clean, and she won't even go to the groceries. And she doesn't even know how to do the laundry. And yet, she goes off and buys her own bags and shoes without even looking at the price. On top of all that, her food is disgusting. She doesn't even know how to make rice. And above all else, she was also a woman that can't get pregnant, spends money recklessly, and she even borrowed money from a sketchy loan company without telling me. And now they're even chasing after me. They caught her, and apparently they sent her off to a terrifying country doing terrifying work. Ever since then, they stopped coming after me, but I got fired from my company. Please, Paige, help me. I don't even have a place to live right now, and you're the only person I can rely on. As soon as my friends and family found out that I was being chased by black market debt collectors, they cut off all ties with me.
Huh, interesting. Is that so? Without thinking, a smile came across my face, and this is what I said to him. Interesting. What goes around comes around, so take that.
Wait a minute. That was my bad. Master Page, please, I'm begging you, help me.
Help you?
Please help me.
Tomorrow, wait for me at the cafe next to the train station from the apartment we used to live in, 3 p.m.
But I have a shift at that time.
Huh? You say something?
3 p.m., right? Yes, ma'am.
So the next day, at 3 p.m. as promised, when I arrived at the cafe, Henry was already there. But he looked so old and weathered, to the point where I barely even recognized him. Until he called out for me, I was actually thinking he was a homeless person in the cafe.
But Paige, it's exactly as I spoke to you on the phone. Right now, I'm sleeping in the park, and first, just let me borrow some money to at least rent a room.
Henry started apologizing and bowing down to me. So I said this in response. Huh? I never said anything about helping you, though. Henry let out a stupid sound when at that moment, I heard the sound of the cafe doors opening, and both Henry and I looked towards the entrance.
Wait a minute.
Henry's jaw was on the floor. That's because the person standing there was John, but he had lost a lot of weight and had made a complete transformation into a handsome man.
Long time no see.
You see, John is working at my brother's company right now as a programmer. He's a managing director there.
Managing director? Well, after working under my brother-in-law, I was able to finally gain some confidence myself. Back then I was a super loser, but my diet and work have both been going well. So I'm more confident now. Every day I'm the happiest I've ever been. Because Paige and I are about to welcome our second child soon. Second child? Wait, did you just say with Paige?
Henry's jaw dropped again, and he started yelling. So I shoved the maternity sticker on my bag into his face. And then I also showed him the wedding rings on both my left hand and John's left hand.
No way, but how did you all people get my ex-wife? Paige was my last and only hope, but wait, does that mean the infertility was my fault?
I was always saying that from the very beginning, you idiot! Henry broke down sobbing on the spot. I was finally able to show him how happy we were to his face, and wow, I felt so refreshed.
Paige, it's almost pickup time at the preschool now.
Oops, you're right. Well, then, goodbye. I hope you figure out how to live. Bye-bye.
I will be treasuring Paige forever and ever. No way. Wait, please. Please, at least just let me borrow a little bit of money. Whoa!
Henry caught his leg on the chair of the cafe and fell over. Henry was screaming and crying as he kept slamming his fists onto the floor. After that, apparently, Henry went to his other former staff to try and beg to borrow money. But that guy was John's former colleague. And that's how I found out that apparently Henry had borrowed money from a shady black money loan company just like Chelsea, and he was shipped off to a country somewhere in Africa. It sounds like he's being forced to do some pretty intense work over there, and he's living every day like he wants to die. I imagine this is his punishment for being so terrible to people back then. Well then, as for me, I'm living very happily with my daughter, John, and the baby in my belly. That reminds me, the other day when John came home from work.
I'm home.
Welcome home! Dinner is ready for you.
What? How are you feeling? I keep telling you that I could do all the chores around the house.
It's fine. Plus, I'm feeling really good today.
Paige, the only reason I'm so happy now and the reason I was able to change is all thanks to you, Paige. Thank you.
What are you saying? It's all because you worked really hard, John. But you know, the most important parts of you, John, haven't changed at all. You're still so thoughtful and you always do what's right. I should be the one thanking you for giving me so much happiness. I look forward to being happy as a family of 4. My name is Paige, and I'm a 35-year-old housewife. Currently, I live with my husband Michael, who is 5 years older than me. Our hobby together is to go on vacations. If we had any free time at all, we would go somewhere together, and both my husband and I were quick to get moving. We don't have any children of our own, but we have many nieces and nephews. And that's because we each both have 5 siblings. Every time we would go on a vacation, we were always looking forward to seeing our nieces and nephews that lived all across the country. Every time we would see them, they would be bigger or prettier. And we both just loved seeing our nieces and nephews change and grow up. Every time we would see them, we addressed them as if they were our own children. Hey, Michael! Next week we're going on vacation to Florida, right? I can't wait!
Yeah, that's right. I'm excited too. Did you look up the places you wanted to go?
Already done. Let's see. There's Disney World and the Epcot Center. And also, I want to make it down to the Florida Keys and enjoy the beaches. And I want to see some of the alligators too.
Hey now, we're only going for 3 days, 2 nights this time. Are you sure we're going to be able to get around all of that?
It's okay if we have a little bit of a packed schedule, isn't it?
That's true. Plus, your little sister's family lives in Florida, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. We have 2 nephews there. When we saw them 2 years ago, they were pretty rowdy, but I wonder if they've grown up a little.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. We need to make sure we buy souvenirs again so that they'll be happy.
You're right. I can't wait. And just like this, even if we only have 2 nights off of work, we would plan a vacation together. A 3-day, 2-night vacation to Florida. Our planned schedule was very tight, but we went around to all of the places that I researched to visit. And we also went to go see our cute nephews. I often heard about vacation burnout, but perhaps those words just don't exist in our dictionary. But this time, we may have been a little tired. Michael and I were talking about this when we got home, and suddenly our doorbell rang. What could it be? This late at night, when I opened the door, standing there was... I'm very sorry to show up like this. Maria, what on earth happened? And even Karen is with you. Well, come in and we can talk about it inside. It's cold out there, isn't it? Maria was Michael's older sister, and Natalie was Maria's 20-year-old daughter.
What's going on? Showing up here this late at night? Did something happen?
Actually, my husband cheated on me and is leaving me for a younger woman. What?
What the hell? What is that?
Wait, are you serious? That's horrible! Maria, don't cry! So me and Mom, until Dad moves out, we don't have anywhere to live. So if possible, we were hoping that you would let us stay here for a little while. Would that be okay? So that's what happened. It's already late today, and you should stay over tonight. Right, Michael?
Yeah, I think that would be best.
But you know, I'm sure you can tell by looking, but this apartment is extremely small. So I think it's gonna be a little tight for 4 people. But, well, anyway, you can stay here for tonight. So don't worry. Thank you very much. I'm truly so sorry to trouble you like this. That night, in our 1-bedroom apartment, 4 fully grown adults were stuck together. For a few hours, we listened to Maria as she sobbed to us, and once she calmed down, we decided to go to sleep. We hadn't seen Maria's daughter Natalie in a while, and perhaps because of that, she seemed even more like an adult woman than before. Michael also seemed proud, as he said, "Natalie, you've grown up so much," and admired her. Well, my husband adored all of his nieces and nephews, so I thought he must have just been happy to see his niece grow up. At that time, at least. Even after 3 days went by, those 2 didn't try to leave the house. As the cherry on top, I just got a call from the place where I was working, and they asked me not to take days off because we're in the busy season. It looks like my ex-husband has already gathered his things and left, so I'm going to head back. Is that so? So that means Natalie too. I don't wanna! I wanna live here with my Uncle Michael. Huh? Whoa. What on earth is going on here? I know you're sad that your dad just left, but... Well then, do you want to sleep over here for a little while, Natalie? Wait, what? No way! Our place is this small, and plus we also have to go to work too. I understand. That would be troublesome to you as well, Paige. Please, but I want to live here. At that point, I thought that Michael was going to set Natalie straight here. I can understand why he would want to spoil his niece, but you know, this and that are 2 different situations. However, shocking words came out of Michael's mouth.
All right, I know. I'm also a man. Natalie, you can live here together with us.
What? What? You're joking, right? Yay! Uncle Michael! I love you. What? What is with this old man? How gross! Well then, I guess that's that. I suppose that means it's okay for Natalie to start living in this house from today. Aren't you glad, Natalie? Especially since it's pretty close for you to get to college from here. Yeah! And I promise I'm going to listen to everything you say, Uncle Michael. And I definitely won't complain about anything. Bye, Mom! Can't wait to live with you, Uncle Michael.
Yes. You're so cute.
They didn't even try to ask for my opinion. And as if to be forced by the 3 of them, this strange life at my home began. In the beginning, Natalie was helping around the house, but little by little, she started showing her spoiled, bratty personality. She was complaining about the food I would make or lie easily about anything. And even though that was the case, whenever Michael would come home, she would suck up to him and put on a good face. I had gotten on my nerves, so when Natalie was at school one day, I decided to talk to Michael about it. Hey, this is about Natalie recently, but she's extremely difficult and rude towards me. Whenever you're around, she never shows that side of her though.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that at all. But isn't that what kids are like in general? Don't make such a big deal out of it. She's still just a kid. You should be more of an adult, Paige.
Sure. That response was exactly what I expected. Just as I thought, this guy was obsessed with his niece and wasn't thinking about me one bit. But, well, because she must be sad to be separated from her father, maybe she was trying to make Michael her father figure. And plus, I thought maybe things would be fine if I just tolerated it a little bit more. One day, after Michael went to work, I was on the late shift, so I was cleaning up the apartment that was messy. But then, it was at that moment, the most outrageous thing popped into my eyes. And that was a photo booth pic that Michael and Natalie had taken together. There were words on it that said, "Totally in love. I love you. Secret relationship forever." And they were holding each other close in the photos. I found that hidden in Michael's drawers. The moment I saw that, images that I never wanted to imagine started running across my mind. What? Wait a minute, since when? Since when have Michael and Natalie had that sort of relationship? Come on, Paige, remember! There must have been a time when the two of them started to act weird. No way. Not the very first day that she and Maria stayed over. Now that I think about it, that day Maria and I were in the living room. Michael and Natalie were in the bedroom next door and... Whoa, this is the worst! I was tricked! I've been tricked this whole time! The more I thought about it, the more irritated I became. I had already passed the point of anger and was just dumbfounded. And after having something this awful done to me, there's no way I can live my life with Michael anymore. And once I thought that, I made a decision. All right, justice will be served. Why don't I gather plenty of undeniable evidence? That's what I vowed to myself. Once I had my doubts, isn't it strange how everything started to look suspicious?
Hey, look. I really started working out, but what do you think? My abs are starting to show too. I guess men need to stay manly at all ages.
Wow, your chest is looking so thick, Uncle Michael. Looks great.
Good, isn't it? Your uncle is still only 46. I still got it if I try.
You're so cool. Hey, Uncle Michael, why did you get married to Miss Page? For someone as hot as you, couldn't you have found a better woman? You know, someone like me. Excuse me? That's so unnecessary.
That's a good point. Back in the day, Paige used to be a very cute and very attractive woman. But, you know.
Because if you're in love with each other, then you wouldn't have had a kid by now, right? And yet... Ugh. Well, that's because I actually got an illness when I was in my 20s. And, well, I was no longer able to have children after that. Interesting. I didn't know that. I feel kind of bad for you, Aunt Paige. But I also guess that means you're a useless woman. Huh? Hey, Uncle Michael. I want to go shopping tomorrow, but will you come with me?
Sure thing. I have plenty of time tomorrow, so the two of us can go out after.
And so, just like that, the two of them left me behind, and the next day they went out of the house together in great spirits. My blood was boiling, but I needed to hold it in. That's what I kept telling myself. And so, I was gathering plenty of evidence to corner those two for good, and 4 years flew by of holding this all in. Natalie had graduated college and started working at a company. And then, we received the news that she would be getting married to somebody that she'd met there. That day, in order to celebrate Natalie before the marriage, the four of us, including Maria, decided to go out for dinner.
I can't believe the day has come for Natalie to move out and become a bride. I really do feel like a father. Congratulations on getting married.
Truly, I can't thank you enough, Miss Page, for looking after my daughter for 4 years. No problem, it's fine. I am also so glad to see Natalie grow up like this, and not only that, I'm also really happy to hear that she was able to meet a good person. You guys, thank you so much, really. I promise I'm going to be happy And I'm going to be a good wife. Oh yeah, have you already decided on a day for the wedding? I was thinking about bringing you a lot to celebrate on that day, so please do invite us. Thank you. We're planning the wedding 2 months from now. The person that's going to become my husband is a super elite employee at the same company. He's really handsome and is being called the hope for the future at the company.
Well, isn't that wonderful? I would love to see what kind of man he is with my own eyes.
Huh? But when it comes to who's more hot, you're still way above him, Uncle Michael. Oh my, well, Natalie has always loved her Uncle Michael since she was little. Yeah, in the past, present, and also in the future. I love my Uncle Michael. Wow, look at that disgusting smile. It's going to be worth all of these years when justice is served. I really can't wait for the wedding. On that day, the 4 of us had a really great time together. But that was also part of my strategy. Because even today, I was doing all kinds of things as part of my evidence gathering. For every single moment, I've been securing every last bit of evidence that I can. And finally, my long-awaited day of getting justice from those 2 was going to arrive. There was absolutely no way that I was going to let this opportunity pass. And so, the day of the wedding.
Natalie, you truly are so beautiful. I could even say that you're the most beautiful bride in the entire world.
Uncle Michael, that's so dramatic. Look at you two speaking like a true father and daughter. And plus, you don't need to cry that much. You're not even her dad.
Natalie!
What the hell are you doing? Sheesh, aren't you embarrassed? Don't forget your position as just the uncle. After that, the wedding ceremony was quietly held in the chapel, and the bride and groom were vowing their eternal love to one another. Her husband also seemed to be a very sincere man, to the point where I had to wonder, why did someone who seems like such a good person choose somebody like Natalie? But I don't want anyone else to be a victim like me anymore. And that's why I brought out the most legendary sword here. And that would be a video message to my niece. This was my most prized work at all. The MC said, "Pardon the interruption, but we have a video message as a surprise from a relative of the bride. Everybody, please turn your attention to the large monitor over there." As he asked everybody to look at the big screen, there was a buzz around the venue, and everybody was excited for the surprise as they paid close attention to the screen. And then, in the video that was displayed across the large monitor, the idiot combination of Natalie and Michael exposed the most unbelievable conversation. Even if I get married, I'm planning on staying with you forever and ever, Uncle Michael.
Well, that's a given. Our relationship is our secret for life.
At the very least, you said you'll see me twice a week, right?
Yeah, of course. I also don't have any intention of being with that wife for the rest of my life. You can always come back to your Uncle Michael anytime.
Oh, Uncle Michael, you're so hot.
And you're also my cute girlfriend, Natalie. Don't you ever forget it.
I know. You're always my number 1, Michael. And the guy that I'm marrying is just second.
And for me, Natalie, you're always my number 1. And Paige is not even in the question.
And well, this kind of idiotic video continued to play one after the other. Well, the venue was now buzzing even more, but of course it would. Of course the groom was mortified and his family were crying and yelling and screaming, "Stop! Delete it!" And Natalie was screaming, "Hey, wait! What the hell is this?" On top of that, Michael had gone completely pale and lost all words as he was shaking from head to toe. And then, I borrowed the mic from the MC and walked onto the stage. Thank you all very much for gathering here today. I am the wife of that man who had a relationship for over 5 years with the bride here today, his niece! I have spent the last 5 years gathering precious evidence about the adultery, and I have brought it here all today. And that's because I don't want to imagine the groom here to be hurt after this, like I have been. Hey, you need to stop! Natalie had come up on stage, and she was trying to grab the mic away from me. But I just quickly dodged her and I continued on. My husband and my niece have continued this relationship for over 5 years, and not only that, even on the night before she was going to marry such a wonderful man as this, they were on a date together.
You! How dare you betray me like this? I'll never forgive you.
No! This isn't what it looks like! This woman is just harassing me!
Even though we have so many people here who have come from far away just for this day, I can't believe that you were trying to fool me until this very moment. You better be ready for what's to come.
This is all just a misunderstanding! This is all just some kind of mistake. This is all just a trap and this woman set up on us! After all that, Natalie was still trying to make it seem like it was my responsibility. There was nothing more that could be done. And so, I continued on further. Well then, everybody, I have here 5 years worth of evidence of their affair, so please enjoy! As I said that, I grabbed over 100 photos that I had from 5 years worth of their affair, and I spread them out all across the wedding venue. The wedding guests were picking up the photographs and they were glaring at Natalie and Michael with terrifying eyes. Everyone was furious, and from every direction, people started to raise their voices. Natalie was panicking as she was crying and begging, while Michael was frozen on the spot and shaking in his pants. I will be receiving 5 years worth of settlement fee from Michael, and of course from Natalie. I do hope you get yourself ready for that.
I will be collecting it too, and I definitely won't be showing any mercy. No way. Paige, forgive me.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. After that, the wedding reception was canceled midway. Natalie was crying and screaming, and Michael was begging at my feet. But I left them there and went home. I immediately started prepping for my divorce. My sister-in-law, Maria, was so busy desperately working to earn money from Natalie's college tuition fees that she hadn't realized at all what her daughter was doing. She came to me many times and got down on her knees to apologize. And then she said that she was going to cut off all ties with her daughter and her brother. I was able to collect a very high settlement fee from both Michael and Natalie. As for Natalie, from her former fiancé, she was also sued for a settlement fee, not only destroying her engagement, but also to pay the entire fees for the wedding. The two of them were kicked to the hell in debt together. And both of them lost their jobs, their friends, and their family, and after losing everything, they moved in together into a tiny rundown apartment. I'm sure they will struggle for the rest of their lives to pay back that debt. Since Michael and Natalie had a relationship for over 5 years already, even though it was a forbidden relationship between uncle and niece, I thought that they would be happy together, but in no time they fell apart. After hurting so many people and going through so much trouble to be together, I thought it was a pretty anticlimactic ending. Even Maria said that she felt responsible for this, and she also paid me quite a bit of money as well. Well, for 5 years, every single day was really busy, physically and emotionally. But after the divorce, I am living a fulfilling life by myself. That's right, I'm also thinking about going on another vacation soon. I was able to receive quite the incredible amount in settlement fees, so I've got plenty of funds to spare anyway. Where should I go on vacation next? Maybe I'll go to Hawaii for the first time in a while and relax there. It did become a solo trip, but I am enjoying my vacation. My name is Paige. I'm a 27-year-old housewife. Before I married my husband, Takashi, who is 5 years older than me, I was working full-time at a company. However, after I got married, it was Takashi's wish for me to quit my job and become a full-time housewife. Takashi was an only child with working parents, and he said that he was always sad to come home to a dark house. That's why he wanted his wife to become a housewife and to be waiting for him at home. That's fine. I've been working a lot until now, so I was just thinking I wanted to relax a little bit. I'm going to do my best to support you from now on, Takashi.
Thank you, Paige. And I'm gonna work really hard for you and us, Paige.
Even though he said that, Takashi was working as a small company and his monthly salary was only $1,500. I only found this out after we got married, but Takashi was the type to spend a lot of money on his hobbies and interests, and every month, a couple $100 would disappear towards his own hobbies. So he was telling me to figure it out with just $800 a month, but after paying rent, there was barely anything left. How was I supposed to pay for any of the bills and groceries, the loan on the car with this amount? Takashi was always kind, so I thought I would somehow be able to make it work as long as we were together, but...
Like I said, this is where the wife comes in and shows her worth by figuring it out with this amount. Paige, you're always at home anyway, so I'm sure you have plenty of time to make it work. They're always showing ways to save on TV as well. Why don't you take some notes and do some research from that?
Takashi seemed to think that if I could cut on costs, somehow I could make it work. But even then, there is something called a limit to what can be done. Plus, if I tried to save money and cook the same food, then Takashi kept complaining.
Come on, chicken again? I'm getting tired of bean sprouts too. Why can't you use your brain a little bit and think of something else? You're a full-time housewife after all. You have plenty of time, don't you?
Excuse me? From cleaning to laundry and getting all the meals ready and still busy every day, and I was irritated that he would say it in a way that was like I was just bored with all my time to spare. Being a full-time housewife is pretty busy, you know. If I cook in order to save money, then this is the only option we have. At the very least, if you can't put in a little bit more money towards the household. When I said that, Takashi suddenly started getting crazy angry.
Excuse me? I'm giving you more than half of my salary every month, so stop complaining. Even though you're just a full-time housewife and I'm the one supporting you, you better not go against me.
And in this way, there was no way to talk to him about it. Before we got married, he was never such an egotistical person. But as soon as I became a full-time housewife, he became patriarchal and was almost like a completely different person. I can't believe this is happening. No matter how you think about it, it's impossible to figure out all of the living expenses with only $800 a month. Thanks to that, even though we're only in our first year of marriage, we're already in a deficit. If we think about the future, we should be saving, but we're constantly in a loss. I was overwhelmed with stress in life, and recently, it was making my stomach hurt. If I have to save this desperately, then it would be much more easier if I could just get a part-time job to support the household. However, Takashi refused to allow me to even get a part-time job. Hey Takashi, more than spending time on figuring out how to save money, I think it would be a lot more efficient if I went out to get a part-time job and earned some money. I just saw that the grocery store in the neighborhood was looking for staff, so I was thinking about applying there part-time. When I said that, Takashi's face turned bright red and he was completely against it.
What did you say? Working at the neighborhood grocery store? That's embarrassing! It's almost like you're announcing to everybody that I'm not earning enough money! You better not embarrass me like that! Are you trying to smear mud on my face?
What? Smear mud on your face? In reality, your earnings of $1,500 a month isn't enough, and these days anybody is working part-time. But Takashi refused to budge, and he wouldn't allow me to get a part-time job. In the end, he also wouldn't increase the amount for our living expenses, and again, all he did was yell at me that I didn't know how to make it work. Ugh, it's making my stomach hurt again. I was somehow getting by day when one day I had plans to have lunch with my big sister Phoebe, who I hadn't seen in a while. Phoebe was 5 years older than me. She owned a business in trade relations, and she was often busy flying around the world. She was back home for the first time in a while from overseas, and she came over to see me. Hey, Paige! Oh, is it just me, or did you lose some weight? As soon as Phoebe saw me, she sounded worried. Yeah, I did. Actually, as I sat down, I told her about my interactions with Takashi and how my stomach has been hurting a lot lately because of that. Excuse me? That cheap bastard! I can't believe he would force my sweet little sister into such a lifestyle! When Phoebe heard about my situation, it looked like she was furious. He wasn't like this at all before we got married, but now he's up on his high horse, saying that he's the one supporting me as a full-time housewife, and I think I might be reaching my limit. Before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face. When I saw Phoebe's face, it must have made me open up. Paige, now that your big sister is here, you don't need to worry. Everything's going to be fine. Yeah, thank you, Phoebe. Wait a minute. I can feel it. Oh, so that's what's going on. Haha, it makes sense. I know things may be hard right now, but in the end, I think you'll be the one laughing, Paige. Wait, is Phoebe having another one of her visions? Ever since we were kids, Phoebe had an almost scary sixth sense, and she saved me from a pinch countless of times in the past. Paige, I have to go overseas again really soon, but you don't need to worry about anything, I can tell. And I'm sure that you're going to be okay. Believe in yourself and do what you think is best for yourself. Is that true? But if Phoebe has this much confidence, then surely it's going to go well, right? Sure, I will. And so that day I was cheered up by my big sister and headed back home. However, even after that, Takashi's words and actions didn't change. And then the day finally came that I reached my limit of patience and exploded. On that day, when he got home from work, he brought back a box that was almost as big as him. Wait, what is this? That is a really big package. Where did you get it?
Check this out. I finally got the life-size action figure that I've been looking for forever.
What? Action figure? Life size?
They said it was the last one, so I rushed, and I bought it on the spot.
When he said that and opened up the package, from inside came out a huge Spider-Man that was stuck in the same position. Excuse me? I knew that he liked American comics and that he'd been collecting a few things here and there, but I didn't think he'd get a life-sized one.
Look at it. It's amazing, isn't it? I took the big leap and I bought it.
Wow! It's so useless! But also, where is he planning on putting this massive thing? This is all happening so fast that my mind couldn't keep up. Hey, by the way, how much did it cost? Because it was this huge, there's no doubt it had to be expensive.
Yeah, it was the last one. And because they're a limited edition, get this, it was only $3,500. What a super good deal.
What? Even though I am desperately trying to save every single day and all I've been eating is bean sprouts, this person just bought a toy for $3,500 without even talking to me about it? $3,500. That's more than 4 months' worth of our living expenses. Without paying any mind to my shock, Takashi was lovingly petting his Spider-Man toy.
La la la! Finally got it on my hands!
Gah! What are you la-la-lying about? I can't take this anymore! Hey, Takashi! You know how much I'm struggling in order to save every month, right? I can't even buy a $1 pudding, and yet you're putting such an expensive toy without even talking to me about it. There must be something wrong with you! However, Takashi only glared over at me and said the most unbelievable thing.
But it's the money that I earned! It's my choice how I spend it, isn't it? You're not working, Paige, so obviously you need to hold back. What, even though you get a lifestyle with 3 meals and a nap included? Are you saying you also want an allowance? That's a bit too much, don't you think? As long as you're being supported by me, you better not open your mouth anymore.
Wait, the reason why I quit my job was because you begged me to. But you know, if I wanted, I could also earn money. The reason why I can't even go out to get a part-time job is because you won't let me, isn't it? That statement seemed to get to Takashi's head.
There's no way I'm gonna let you do something as embarrassing as a part-time job. It's not gonna be that much money anyway. It's just a waste of your time. Look, if you're going to complain that much, then why don't you try living by yourself? You better learn how grateful you should be to me, even though you're just a full-time housewife and all you do is complain!
As soon as he said that, Takashi suddenly shoved me across the room. Hey, what are you doing? Even though I desperately tried to fight back, there was no way I could win against his strength.
Why don't you get a part-time job by yourself and try surviving? Here, as long as you have a bag and a jacket and shoes, that should be enough, right? Now get out! Right now!
And then, before I knew it, I was thrown outside of the house with just 1 pair of shoes, a bag, and 1 jacket. What? Is he serious? This has to be a joke. I was shocked as I stood there by myself. I knocked on the door and rang the doorbell a number of times, but Takashi was completely ignoring me. At least I had my cell phone with me in the bag, and even though I called him, he wasn't answering at all. For a while, I was just walking around the house, but eventually I gave up and I decided to leave. That idiot! He better not think he's gonna get away with all this after everything he's said and done. And first of all, he's the one that wanted me to be a full-time housewife to begin with. And what kind of life-sized action figure was that? How many puddings could I have bought with that one figure? My anger had already blown through the limit, and I didn't have an ounce of love left for Takashi at all. Not only that, but the fire of revenge was burning and growing inside of me. That bastard! I'm definitely going to get back on my feet and make him regret this! And this was how I vowed to get my revenge on Takashi. Luckily, in my pocket, I had a key to Phoebe's apartment. Paige, you're welcome to come to my apartment whenever you want. Don't hesitate and use it as if it's your own home. Oh, that's right. Make sure you always have the key with you at all times, just in case. Thanks to her saying that to me, I'd always kept this key in my pocket no matter what I was wearing. And this is why Phoebe is amazing. She must have predicted something like this might happen. And so I headed towards the apartment that Phoebe owned. A few days after I was kicked out of my house, I got a phone call from Takashi.
Paige, how long do you plan on floating around on someone else's money? You need to hurry up and come home and look after me.
As usual, he was up on his high horse and I was furious. Excuse me, I haven't used 1 cent of your money and I am taking care of myself with my own savings, so no need to worry. I don't have any intention of looking after you anymore. And I have no intention of coming back either. I said that and I hung up, and my phone rang a number of times after that, but it was none of my business anymore. He can use his own money and live his life as he pleases, but I'm not sure he's going to be up on that high horse for long. A few weeks later. I was still living my best life by myself in Phoebe's apartment. Phoebe actually lived in a high-rise luxury apartment in the middle of the city on a high floor. The view was amazing, and because Phoebe had predicted this was going to happen, she had also prepared groceries and clothes, everything for me before she left. This is why Phoebe is the best. A high-rise apartment sure is amazing. My morning routine was to have a cup of coffee in one hand while I look at the amazing view over the city. But then at that moment, I heard the doorbell ring. Huh? Who could that be? When I glanced at the security monitor, it was none other than Takashi standing there.
Paige, I know you're in there. Come on, open the door.
A sad voice echoed across the security monitor. In just a few weeks, he'd become completely worn down. There wasn't a shadow of his old self left. Oh, he's finally here. Just as I predicted. I couldn't help but to start laughing. A few moments after I unlocked the front door, Takashi came up on the elevator and arrived at my door. He was stunned by the large apartment and the view from the high-rise building, and he was looking around with big eyes.
This is an amazing place.
Sure is. Phoebe actually has a few other apartments as an investment.
Paige, why wouldn't you answer my calls?
Oh my, you're already in tears. Oh, so sorry. You were so annoying that I was ignoring you, but I forgot to block you completely. I answered him with a huge smile across my face.
No matter how long I waited, you wouldn't come home, and you wouldn't tell me where you were either, so I went to your family house and I finally found you here.
I'd already told my mom that Takashi might be showing up there pretty soon, and if he did, to give him this address. In order to drop this misunderstanding loser to hell, I had drawn a fishing line and I had been waiting there. So, what do you want?
Paige, you don't have to say it so cold. Come back home right now. Ever since you left, I haven't had enough for living expenses at all. I can't pay rent next month either, and this month, I can't even pay the gas bill or the electricity bill. I'm also getting bills for the payment of the Spider-Man figure, and I don't have enough money at all.
I'm sure you don't. I'm pretty sure that you were the one who kicked me out of the house, though, Takashi. And now, you're telling me to come home? Do you think everything's going to go your way like that? Well then, I guess I can drop the bomb on him now. Hey, look. Now that you get it that between rent, the bills, and the loan on the car, we were already in a deficit every month, that even an elementary school kid could do that math? Or are you telling me that in order to save on the bills, that maybe I should have used candles instead. Should I have gathered the rainwater and used that instead? I asked you many times, didn't I? That we didn't have enough and I needed you to put in a little bit more for the living expenses, didn't I?
Well, that's...
And yet you were using every last penny of what was left on your own allowance, and as a cherry on top, you went and bought an action figure like that and continued to yell at me that I needed to make it work. Who do you think you are? While me, your wife, should just live off of rice and salt and bean sprouts? Are you kidding me?
Paige! You were somehow making it work?
Excuse me? Do you seriously think that anybody can survive based on those living expenses? What world are you living in?
Because...
I told you that before we got married, I had some savings in my account. But to tell you the truth, I received an inheritance from my investor grandfather and had close to $300,000. Ever since I was 20 years old, I started investing little by little, and every month I'm earning at least your salary, if not more, because I was a full-time housewife. I was trading stocks in the afternoon, too. The reason why I kept it a secret from you is because I knew that you would waste it if you knew that I had money. If you got carried away and bought a life-sized action figure with that money, I wouldn't be able to stand it. For me, I wanted to increase what I had for the sake of our future, but you have an ego, so I kept it to myself. But to tell you the truth, I'd actually been putting a little bit from that into our living expenses.
I had no idea. Paige, I didn't know that you were so rich. That's amazing. That's my Paige.
As soon as he heard that, Takashi's face brightened up.
In that case, then you definitely need to come back home. And then we're going to move into an even bigger place. I know. Why don't we just buy an apartment building? Or no, I guess building a house isn't out of reach either, is it?
Wait, this is useless. This guy, even at this point, he's only thinking about himself. That's a joke. There's no way I'm ever going back to you. Now take this and get out and never come back. As I said that, I grabbed the green papers that I'd already prepared and shoved them in his face. That's right. They were divorce papers that I had already signed.
What? You're joking, right? Think this over, right? Right?
Takashi stood there in shock as he started to shake, but I said my last words. Now that I'm living alone, I really understand how grateful I am to this life without you.
No way!
Takashi crumbled and I finally kicked him out of the apartment. I could hear his pathetic voice echoing on the other side of the door, but I completely ignored it. Ah, that was so refreshing. A guy like that can just live alone with his little Spider-Man figure. Take that! After that, Takashi refused to sign the divorce papers. And he said that if we're going to get a divorce, then give me half of your assets. But that being said, all of the assets that I had before we got married are mine and mine only. In the end, I got a lawyer involved and I actually collected a settlement fee from him in return. Because my stomach got messed up because of the emotional distress he caused. After getting divorced from me, Takashi became self-destructive and drowned himself in alcohol and gambling, completely destroying his own life. He also quit his job, but then he was caught by the debt collectors, and I heard that he's also being forced to work in some shady factory somewhere. As for me, I went back to working full-time, and I've been busy every day. I always liked working, and I'm really enjoying it. You finally seem like yourself again. I was so worried about you. It was all thanks to you, Phoebe. I'm finally healthy again. I don't have any more stress. Thank you for letting me borrow your apartment during this time. That's nothing. Don't worry about it. You're my only little sister. Anytime you need me, you can always rely on me. But even still, your apartment is really amazing, Phoebe. It made me want a high-floor apartment in a high-rise building. Oh my, really? Let's see. For you, Paige, I think that more than an apartment building, a house is more fitting. Yeah, I think you're gonna meet somebody beautiful in the Southwest. Maybe on the other side of the ocean? What? On the other side of the ocean? Do you mean somewhere overseas? No way! I can't wait! Thank you for watching! What kind of crazy people will we get to see next? Stay tuned for more!